morning, day 13 of Advent. So I've got Tiggy laying on my table with all the Advents and the jigsaw, but he's left open where I put the last jigsaw from yesterday evening, bless him, so that's good. So let's get on to Advent. So there's Tiggy and Lindy. I've put the decorations on the tree and they look gorgeous. They really do. Thank you so much. Okay, so Cadbury. Ooh. Number 13. I'm not sure whether... Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a fudge. Oh, a fudge. Put it back. Okay. So, no more Fig. There he is, looking after all the Advents. So let's get on to Burr Street Yarns. Oh, look at, oh, let's have a look then. Trying to do it without ripping all the tissue, but oh, I don't know. There we go. Ooh. Oh, look at this. Oh, that's pretty. That's definitely autumn, isn't it? Really lovely. Right, so that was the last colour because we had the candle. So there we go. Lovely. So 13 on the jigsaw. Oh, I'll show you what I did yesterday evening. Tiggy's bottom's just gone on Santa. Sorry about that, but I won't disturb him because he's going to sleep. So, and today's is... Oh, look. Oh. Okay. Oh, Tiggy's moving now. But you're going to sleep, Tig-Togs. Let's move that chocolate. Oh, there we go. There we go. So we'll do that later. So now the Peter Rabbit one. Sorry, my voice went then. So number 13. Look at that little robin. Okay, let's see. Oh, a little mice. Oh, oh look. Oh, the little stocking. Okay, so let's see. I think they can make a little circle going on there. There. I just want to show you this. So yeah, my Snuddy was up over the rocking chair. Well, he's pulled it down. Yeah, you made yourself comfortable. Yeah. Okay, So today my plans are, last night, after reading, about 10 minutes later, I just felt really poorly. So I was in bed by 9, went to sleep. So I want to cast them on today. I'll do that next. A little bit more of Florrie's apron. Some of Gracie the frog. And I'd like to get in some cross stitch today, so we'll see. I'm really, really hurting. I'm not great at all today. So just resting up. So I'll see you later for the story. Bye. Hello and good evening. So I have been doing a little bit of crafting today, and I've done a bit of the Latvian mittens. So here's the book. And this is the design. That's Dolly. Dolly's on the advent table, and she's just knocked the box of jigsaw for today, and the lid was open. I'll see to it when I get up. So I'm doing the Pink Crotus mittens, and the first bit I've done is, let's turn it to this page. I'm on the point now. I've done the rows that I needed to do. I've halved it, and I'm now knitting one stitch with the cast on end of where I started, and that's what makes the picot. So yeah, so I'll show you, but as I say, it's not a lot there to see. And the yarn is Drops Flora. I've never worked on such long DPNs and thin DPN. Well, I've worked on a 2 before, but I don't know, it's because they're long. They seem a lot different, but I'm gradually getting used to it. So this is what I'm working on right now. So yeah, so far so good. And using my row counter, which is really, really handy. Whoops. Hello, Dolly. Didn't manage to do any Grace the Frog this afternoon. I'll see after this if I do some, see how I feel. But another thing I printed off was, what's it called? Vintage Christmas Light Socks. And this is the design. This design is made by the same person, hello Dolly, of the Barbie crop. So I've got all the colours for this. Not sure when I'm going to be casting on. We'll see, but I'm really looking forward to doing it. And the other thing, I've got to applique it, but I've put the chimney on and the snow, but it's got to be a pleat. I've gone round the rest of the gingerbread house, and now I'm on to these little designs. So they're the next thing. And the other thing, I thought about this and I want to make it as a little extra for Abby's Christmas. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make it into a heart or a square, but I've drawn, let's see. In between Dolly's tail, I've drawn, I don't know if you can see it, a dachshund, and I'm going to embroider it. Not sure if I'm just going to do an outline and the collar. I'll see when I've done the outline if I want to fill it in, or say just do the collar, nose and the eye. So we'll see. But I think that's going to be a nice little extra. Okay, your claw's sticking in me. Thank you, Dolly. Let's get my glasses on. So, Christmas at Fairacre, Miss Reed. We're on chapter 8 and it's now Christmas Eve, and Miriam's she's already been to the shop. She's got the bits and things. Lovell has got to do the things in the church, and the little girls and I suppose Robin are very excited for Christmas Day. So here we go. The day began in pitch darkness. At 5:30 Miriam's door opened and Hazel and Jenny entered, dragging their spoils behind them. "You said we could come," beamed Hazel, "and you said we could do anything we liked on Christmas Day, so here we are." Miriam sat up and switched on the bedside lamp. Her head was heavy with sleep. Her eyes felt as though they were full of biscuit crumbs. But this was Christmas morning, and although it had come far too soon for comfort, Christian feelings must be predominant. "Happy Christmas, darlings," she said, between yawns. "Switch on the electric fire, Hazel, and both come into bed. You must be frozen." They joyously flung their laden pillowcases onto their aunt's stomach, partially winding her. Their bare feet were like 4 ice blocks pressed against her own warm legs. Their hands, diving for their treasures, were mottled with the cold. "Where's Robin?" asked Miriam. "Still asleep." "So's Daddy." "Shall we go and fetch them?" No, they'll come along later. Let's see all these gorgeous things." She duly admired books, jigsaw puzzles, and a complicated ball game, which she feared would be beyond her when the time came for it to be played. There were recorders, played with more enthusiasm than harmony, dolls and their clothes, remarkably sophisticated to Miriam's eye. No doll of hers ever had ski clothes, bathing dresses, bathing dresses, or even cloaks. These beauties even had handbags to match their different outfits. The girls were enchanted. Miriam had given Hazel a toy sewing machine and Jenny a little cooking stove. She was relieved to see how ecstatically they were received, and promised to help them when they started to use them. "I shall make a tiny, dear little chips and fry them in this frying pan," cried Jenny. "You can have some for supper." Miriam lay back on her pillow and watched them affectionately. Everything enchanted them, even the 2 plain aprons sent by a distant great aunt. It was good to see such unspoilt children. Lovell and Eileen had done a good job with these 2, thought her aunt proudly. She looked about the room, which was now beginning to get warm. The children had hung a red paper bell over the door, which they had when they had decorated the house with all the Christmas paper chains, folding fans and other ornaments earlier in the week. It really looked rather pretty, thought Miriam, remembering how she and Lovell had always adored unfolding these showy decorations as children to deck the old Fenland vicarage. What would these children think of her own bare quarters at Holly Lodge if they could see them? But something indefiniable was missing. What was it? The smell of tangerines? Before she could pin it down, Lovell came in carrying Robin with his stocking. "Merry Christmas!" they all shouted. "It's marvellously warm in here," said Lovell. "Reminds me of Christmas morning at home when we used to have the Valor Perfection stove alight in the bedroom." "That's it!" cried Miriam. "I've been missing the smell of the paraffin." "And a good thing too, I should think," said Lovell, helping his youngest to unwrap a furry panda. "But it was heavenly in the dark," remembered Miriam, making lovely patterns on the ceiling. "And lovely smuts when it smoked," added Lovell. The little girls were busily opening their brother's presents and urging him to admire them. Robin appeared to be as sleepy as Miriam felt herself, and greeted each discovery with a marked lack of enthusiasm. "What we need," said Miriam, when the last parcel was undone and the bedroom floor was awash with Christmas wrappings, "is an early breakfast. And then you can play with your new toys before we go to church." Lovell had a service at 8, and Miriam proposed to take the children to the 11 o'clock service, bringing them out before the sermon. "But you can't leave the turkey," protested Hazel, as though it were an invalid aunt in need of constant care. "I can, you know," said Miriam. "You'll see." "I could cook something on my stove," said Jenny. "Peas, say." "There'd only be a mouthful," said Hazel. "I could keep on cooking peas," replied Jenny snappily. "Then there'd be enough. Fish shops keep on cooking, don't they? Aunt Miriam, everyone has enough." By mid-morning, tempers were beginning to fray. After such an early awakening, and now that the toys had been inspected, the children started to quarrel. It was the first time that Miriam had seen the two sisters at war, and she was staggered at the ferocity of the battle. She was at a loss, too, to know how best to quell this uprising. Robin, more animated than he had yet appeared, looked on the scene with approval, clapping his hands as Jenny clutched her sister's long hair and attempted to haul it from her scalp. Hazel retaliated with a resounding smack on Jenny's cheek. Screams rent the air, and Miriam rushed to part them. This was something entirely new to her. Once she remembered she had been called to a couple in the typing room at the office who had reduced each other to tears over some business about a boyfriend. That had been bad enough, but this was real commando stuff. A sharp scratch from Hazel's fingernail caused her such sudden pain that involuntarily she smacked the child's arm, and Jenny's too. The manoeuvre worked like a charm. Both fell apart, open-mouthed with astonishment. "Mummy never hits us," explained Hazel, much shocked. "Nor Daddy," cried Jenny, coming to her late enemy's support. The words, more fool them, hovered on Miriam's lips, but she forbore to utter them. She was still suffering from pain, shock, and some shame at the violence of her reaction. "You can go upstairs and get ready for church," she said instead, "and no more nonsense." They went out quietly, but before they had reached the stairs, Miriam heard them giggling together, all conflict over. An ominous pattering noise attracted her attention. Robin was inspecting a growing puddle on the kitchen floor. "Good boy," he said approvingly. "Good boy, Robin." Sighing, Miriam went in search of a bucket and floor cloth. An hour later, she and her charges sat decorously in church, awaiting Lovell's entrance. The building was plain, with only a few mural tablets bearing testimony to the virtues of the deceased and the grief of those mourning them. A threadbare banner hung from one wall, a reminder of the gallantry of an East Anglian regiment. Old, unhappy, far-off things and battles long ago. The church was half full, which Miriam rightly construed as a good congregation. She had attended a service here with only 3 other worshippers on one occasion. The organ swelled into a recognisable tune, and the congregation rose as the choir entered, followed by Lovell. "That's my daddy!" cried Robin joyously, much to the delight of nearby worshippers. Jenny and Hazel shook their heads with disapproval, but were obviously secretly proud of their brother's intelligence. The service began, but its measured beauty failed to hold Miriam's attention, distracted as she was by having to find the place for the 2 little girls, and by restraining Robin, who was busy licking the varnished pew shelf, as if they were made of butterscotch, which it somewhat resembled. This activity was accompanied by loud smacking noises and appreciative growling, such as puppies make when enjoying a bone. Miriam's efforts to divert him were met with ferocious resistance and a renewed attack upon the woodwork. A particularly solemn silence at the end of one of the prayers was broken by a crunching sound. Robin, raising his head to admire his toothwork, turned dribbling heavily to Miriam and patted the wet shelf encouragingly. "Auntie bite," he demanded. "Auntie bite too." "No," hissed Miriam fiercely. Really, to think that a 2-year-old could cause so much embarrassment. She was conscious of considerable merriment in the pews behind her. Should she take the child out, she wondered? Luckily, at this juncture, they all stood up for the hymn, proceeding to the sermon. "Do we put our money in now?" inquired Hazel loudly, "because I've lost mine." Jenny, with sisterly concern, fell to the floor and began searching busily along a very dusty heating pipe. "Perhaps it's rolled under the seat," she suggested, pointing with a black hand. Hazel bent down as though about to join in the depths. "Leave it," begged Miriam helplessly. "I will give you some more." "But we can't just leave it," protested Jenny. By now her face was striped with grime. She looked like a very cross tiger cub. "It's not now anyway," responded Jenny. "It's the next hymn we put the money in. Daddy's doing his talking and then we put it in, don't we, Aunt Miriam?" "Well, we won't be here then," argued Hazel. "So what shall we do with our money?" "Aunt Miriam, we don't want any collection money, so can we keep it?" Powerless to check this flow of conversation, Miriam saw with infinite relief that Lovell was ascending the stairs to the pulpit. This was her cue to remove his lively offspring. She began to usher the children into the aisle. Fortunately, she had purposely taken a pew near to the door. Robin resisted strongly and appealed to the distant figure in the pulpit. "Dada!" he screamed lustily. "Dada-do! Dada-do!" The 2 little girls contented themselves with waving cheerfully as they made for the door, but Robin sat suddenly in the aisle and refused to budge. An elderly sidesman, seeing Miriam's dilemma, advanced and picked up the boy, who made himself as stiff as a board whilst keeping up a barrage of ear-splitting yells. He was borne towards the door, Miriam following. She gave one apologetic backward glance towards Lovell. His dark face was impassive, but there was a gleam in his eye which told her clearly of his enjoyment of the scene. "Like a sweet," said the sidesman to Robin when they had gained the porch. The scream stopped abruptly. He deposited the boy on the gravel path outside and felt in his waistcoat pocket. Hazel and Jenny watched with attention. He produced 3 small fruit drops, each wrapped in cellophane, and handed them down. "Always as well to have sweets on you when there are children around," he said kindly to Miriam, and departed before she had time to thank him properly. It was wonderful to be out in the air again. The wind was still strong, but the rain had gone, and now the scudding clouds parted, and the sun lit up the wide Norfolk fields around the Flint church. "I love Christmas," said Jenny, cheek bulging. "Do you?" Miriam looked at the three children, so quickly transformed into angels. "Yes," she said, "I do." The turkey, which had been left to its own devices in the oven, much to the concern of the two little girls, had assumed a luscious golden brown when Miriam returned to baste it. She put on the vegetables and topped up the water in the steamer, holding the Christmas pudding before going to set the table. She had ransacked the airing cupboard and at last had found a large white damask cloth, old and beautifully starched, with several darns executed. She guessed by a long dead hand. No one these days surely could be bothered to do such fine work. Spread upon the dining room table and decorated with 2 candlesticks borrowed from the mantelpiece, it began to look more like a festive board, although Miriam cursed herself for forgetting to buy crackers, those instant decorations. As it was, there was no time to search for flowers or ribbons, but she filched a few holly sprigs from above pictures where the children had put them and set them round the candlesticks. "It's marvellous," cried Hazel. "Can we put some pretty things on too?" queried Jenny. "Yes, do," said Miriam, rushing to the kitchen to attend to an ominous hissing noise. When she returned, she found that Hazel had added a small sleigh holding Father Christmas and bath cubes, an inspired present from an aunt in America, whilst Jenny had purloined the fairy from the top of the Christmas tree to add to the scene. Robin's contribution was a toy camel with 3 leaded legs and one of plasticine. It added an exotic touch as it leant in a drunken fashion against a candlestick. Lovell admired everything warmly when he returned from church, and the meal was as cheerful as he and Miriam could make it for the children. Afterwards, the 2 adults dozed while Robin slept upstairs, and the 2 little girls played with their new toys. A walk was planned for 3 o'clock, but when the time came, Miriam saw that Lovell was still deep in sleep. Now she observed how tired he looked, how the lines had deepened in his face, and how dark his hair was showing flecks of grey. His work and Eileen's illness were taking their toll of his energy, and she grieved for him. Quietly she slipped from the room and summoned Hazel and Jenny. A look into Robin's room showed the boys deep in slumber as his father. "We'll play games at the end of the garden," said Miriam, "instead of going for a walk. Then we can be near if Robin wakes." "Goody, goody gumdrops," cried Jenny. "We'll have longer with our toys then." The kitchen garden was a vast area with a mellowed brick and flint wall. 100 years or so earlier, it must have been the pride of the head gardener and probably 2 or 3 under gardeners. Now it sheltered only a few rows of Brussels sprouts, carrots and cabbages, but it afforded a playground out of the wind and far enough away from the house for the children's shouts to be unheard. Miriam showed them how to play two ball against the wall, and was surprised and proud to find she had not lost her skill over the years. After initial difficulties, the girls soon became quite dexterous, the only snag being that only 2 balls could be found, and they had to take it in turns. "As soon as the shop's open," promised Miriam, "I'll buy you 2 new ones each." "But that's not till Monday," wailed Hazel. "It's ages away." "What can't be cured must be endured," Miriam said cheerfully, quoting Eurosin. "I don't understand that," said Jenny flatly. "It means you have to lump it," her sister told her, appropriating the balls briskly. The men folk were much refreshed after their naps, and over tea Lovell spoke of the Boxing Day meet, which was always held in the square of the local market town. "Shall we go?" he asked. "Yes, yes," chorused the children. "All in one car, all squashed up and cosy. And take our presents so we can play while we wait." Lovell looked at Miriam. She thought quickly. Certainly lunch would be cold turkey, and that presented no difficulties. But she longed to attack some of the more urgent cleaning that had obviously been neglected since Eileen's departure. She did not want Lovell to see her scrubbing his kitchen floor, but that was what she had planned to do, and if she could manage it unobserved. Then there was the gammon to cook and a vast amount of necessary sweeping and dusting to do. To have 2 hours alone would suit her plans perfectly. I think I'll stay here if you don't mind, she replied. There are several things to do, and I really ought to ring Joan. I should probably catch her in the morning. Of course, said Lovell. He spoke sympathetically. To his eyes, the girl looked absolutely exhausted, and he felt horribly guilty. She worked hard at the office, had undertaken a long journey, and was coping superbly with his family. Obviously, it would do her good to have a brief time on her own. I'll take the brood off as soon after 10, he promised. The meeting's at 11 and we'll be back before 1 o'clock. Marvellous, said Miriam with relief. The rest of the day passed quietly. Lovell went to the hospital to see Eileen, and the children, tired of all the excitement, were docile enough to go to bed early. Miriam put the gammon to boil, averted her eyes from the state of the kitchen floor, and fell bone-weary into an armchair. A vision of Holly Lodge as it would be in the new year, if she ever returned to her ministrations there, floated before her. Quite warm, clean, a haven of solitude and silence. It hung before her mind's eye as a beautiful jewel. She sighed and slept. So chapter 9 next, and we're on page 101. Just to let you know that the story does end on the last chapter, which is 10. So, yeah, we've listened quite a bit, haven't you? Okay. So, first, thank you to got a couple of more subscribers, and thank you so much for joining. And I hope you continue to enjoy. And thank you for my subscribers that have been there, from loads of you from the start. I really appreciate it for following me. What else was I going to say? Yeah, just a reminder about the stitch along, cross stitch stitch along on the 1st of January 2024. I'm going to be doing a year at Hook Run Hollow, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be any cross stitch that you want to do, and but be something that you've had put away and would like to go back to. There's not a deadline on it. It's a carry on. So when you complete a project, you complete it. Yeah, I just wanted to be a relaxing stitch along. So, or some of you might have a Hook Run Hollow that you've put aside and you'd like to go back to. So you're more than welcome to join. Just let me know in the box down below, or on my Instagram, Susie Stitcher 2. I will be showing the giveaway again soon for the project bags, and also we have got 390 followers, and I did say when we got to 400 I'll be doing a giveaway for a cross stitch pattern. So there's that to look forward to too. The other thing, I have got a Ko-fi support account, so if you would like to donate, it's always under the description box. So just to let you know, that's there. So that's it for today. So I will see you in the morning. So for now, take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.